This is a D6 Generation Pip. Bite-sized content for a busy gamer. Sometimes featuring Craig, sometimes featuring Russ.
Hey, what about me?
Oh yeah, and sometimes featuring Raef, Hollywood, Granger.
Hello there and good afternoon. Welcome to another pip of the D6 Generation. I'm Raef Hollywood Granger, and I am going to be doing a solo version of Achievements in Gaming. So first of all, I already lost one of my predictions, but it's a good loss. It was in place to force me to lose. Isn't that weird? I don't know. I'm backwards. I'm like backwards compatible. I went to a convention. And I had made a prediction in the predictions episode that I would attend no conventions. So we went down to our local Captain Con and also bumped into Russ Wakelin and Seppi of Fight in a Box Games, formerly known as Pyric. And it was really an interesting convention. So I went down with my friend Christian and stayed overnight, got a hotel room. I went full bananas. And I don't know. I have mixed... First of all, a fantastic convention. I mean, Paul Shoemaker, who runs it, fantastic, or runs it with his friends, did a great job. Fully attended, well organized. Any beefs you hear are my own weird way of the life, my hermit gaming life that I'm in, okay? So they did fantastic. But here's what I said. There was a moment when I looked around and I was like, what am I doing here? I don't know if I'm just getting older. And the reason why I say that was I didn't really interact with the convention at all. I really just hung around and played with our local gaming friends, which was super fun. But part of me was like, why did I come all the way down to Rhode Island to just play with my gaming friends? Like, why don't I just go, reach out to Brian Ahern and crew and Jeremy and Megan and that whole gaming crew and Christian and all his friends and Russ and Seppi, and why don't I just, play games? I guess I wouldn't see Seppi because he's only locally. But, Russ and Seppi were nice and kind enough to invite me for dinner, and I did pass on that because I was, gaming and hanging out with Christian and his game group, which was awesome, good, great people, super fun to hang out with. And we just, I did have fun playing board games, and we're going to go through what they were and give little mini reviews on them. But just for the convention overall, I sort of... I don't know. I was like half glad I was there and then half glad saying to myself, why am I here? I'm not interacting with the convention. I didn't do demos. I didn't do other things that were there. I didn't play a miniature game. I shopped a little bit. And I didn't want to. It's not that the day escaped me. I just was like, meh, whatever. So that part was interesting. Observation on myself with my hermitage. So let's go on to some more joyous things to talk about. Oh, and if anybody can share with me in either on Twitter, can reach out to me, the D6G Hollywood on Twitter, or in the Discord. I can't figure out what's happening with War Machine. I know Russ shared with me that the new edition's coming out, but I've been trying to find a book. Are they making a book? Is there no book? Do we get the rules on the app? Is it the same app? Is it a new app? I am interested to check out War Machine. And as later I'll talk about in the podcast, I'm seeing Wakelin, Craig, and Dave Farr today as I record this. So maybe Russ will have some more updates for me. But let's talk. So yeah, is any of you out there who has news and information on that? I'd love to hear more, okay? Drop it in the Discord channel that we have for the D6G, or drop it in D6G Hollywood if you can DM me, and that'd be awesome. Okay, let's talk about Caverna. So Christian busted out Caverna. For those of you that don't know Caverna, here's the description on Board Game Geek. Following along the same lines as its predecessor, Agricola, Caverna, the Cave Farmers, yes, Russ, Russ, Cave Farmers is a worker placement game at heart with a focus on farming. Yes, Russ, with a focus on farming. In the game, you're the bearded leader of a small dwarf family that lives in a little cave in the mountains. You begin the game with a farmer and his spouse, and each member of the farming family represents an action that the player can take each turn. Together, you cultivate the forest in front of your cave and dig deeper into the mountain. You furnish the caves as dwellings for your offspring, as well as working spaces for small enterprises. It's up to you on how much ore you want to mine. You'll need it to forge weapons that allow you to go on expeditions to gain bonus items and actions. While digging through the mountain, you may come across water sources and find ore and ruby mines that help you increase your wealth. Right in front of your cave, you can increase your wealth even further with agriculture. You can cut down the forest to sow fields and fenced-in pastures to hold animals, and you can expand your family while running your ever-growing farm. In the end, the player with the most efficiently developed home board wins. So, I was saying that with Russ because Russ came walking by and he's like, "Oh, look, farming for cave mushrooms. How exciting. Are you having fun?" And we all were having fun. And we said, "Go away, Russ." And then he giggled and ran away. So I owned this game and I sold this game because I barely could get anybody to play it. And I said to myself, you know what, if I'm going to play one of these UA Rosenberg games, I'm going to play Agricola, my favorite. But I regretted selling it because I want to play it like 3 more times now. It was so much fun. And I also was proud of myself because those of you that have been following me in gaming for many years sort of know this, that I don't really win that much in games, and it's because I don't really dedicate much brain resources to it. I sort of go into it being like, this is to be with friends, I'm basically playing solitaire, I just want to move a bunch of cute wooden pieces around the board, excuse me, and I don't focus on winning. So, I said to my buddy Christian, hey, what's the strategy for this? Like, there's so many options, there's so many different things to do. What am I actually doing? You know, how do I pick a course and try to make it work out? And so he educated me on that. And he's like, look, you know there's different engines, and there's different rooms that provide different engines. And anytime, you know, you can get a room that provides a resource, or of course for the end game provides victory points, that's what you're aiming for. And I was like, all right, you know what? I'm going to pay more attention to that. I'm going to think of an engine I want to create, and then I'm going to play the game. And oh my gosh, newsflash, I had so much more fun. Now, Christian ran away with it. He's such a good game player that he blew the doors off the point. So in my mind, if I came in second, then I was a winner. And I think I came in third, but only by like 2 points. So I had a blast playing Caverna because not only did I get to move pieces around in cute little wooden pieces and pretend I'm a little cave in a mine and making little stores. You all know how I like to run merchant stalls, right? It just was fun. And what I did for my engines was I created one where it gives you like an extra stone for like 5 turns. That was huge. And then there was one engine I had where I call it Dwarves Can Eat Stone. So there's, you know, how in Agricola and in Caverna and the different UA Rosenberg games you have to feed your family a lot at the end, and food can be tough to come by. So I had a room that let one dwarf be able to eat an ore, a wood, or a stone. And so by having the stone every turn, in addition to the other resources, it made it super, super fun to know that I had at least one dwarf fed. And I did pretty well with getting the ruby mines, which were multiple step objectives, and I did a really good job of getting a lot of different of the board. You know, those games, Agricola and Caverna, you're minused by leaving empty board spaces, so I had my board filled out really well. I just had an awesome, really good time playing that game. Then we went on to a game called Everdell. And here is the description of Everdell over on Board Game Geek. Within the charming valley of Everdell, beneath the boughs of towering trees, among meandering streams and mossy hollows, a civilization of forest critters is thriving and expanding. From Everfrost to Bellsong, many a year have come and gone, but the time has come for new territories to be settled and new cities established. You will be the leader of a group of critters intent on just such a task. There are buildings to construct, lively characters to meet, events to host. You have a busy year ahead of yourself. Will the sun shine brightest on your city before the winter moon rises? Everdell is a game of dynamic tableau building and worker placement. On their turn, players can take one of 3 actions. Place a worker. B. Play a card. Or C. Prepare for the next season. I was not a fan of Everdell. Not a fan. Now, I'm not saying it's not a good game. The other players loved it. It had critters in it. I was sold with that. It has beautiful layout, beautiful setup, and I want to say to you, it was my first game. So perhaps I'd like it on multiple playthroughs. Here's what I didn't like about it. It had an interesting mechanic where you'd go through seasons, and I might be in season 2 where all the other players might still be in season 1. And so if the other players had good engines going, they could keep going, and then go to season 2. And my experience was, since I didn't know what I was doing and didn't have a good engine going, it was one of those situations where I couldn't do anything. I never had any resources to do anything. I didn't know how to get resources to do anything. And it's not because they didn't teach me. I don't know, misunderstood things. You know how sometimes you play a game and you're like, oh, but I thought I'd get wood there. And it's like, no, that means that for next turn you get wood. Oh, so stuff like that. I don't know. It didn't grab me. I think didn't grab me because I played Root with Russ and his daughter Kit, and we had a blast. I really liked Root. And Root has critters in it, and Root has this like pastoral board. And so in my brain, I'm like, oh, this will somehow, I knew it wasn't Root or in the family of Root, but I'm like, oh, somehow this will be like Root, but just different. So, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'd give it a second go around, but I don't think. Oh, the other mechanic it had that I didn't like is there's just a general center board. And so with cards, and so we're spending a lot of time as players craning our necks to read the center board that then 3 people take cards, so then there's 3 more cards. So again, I'm sure with experience and seeing the different cards that come up, you then know what to do with them. But my experience was just constantly reading the center board that would only be changed by the time it came around to me anyway. So that's a minus for me. Everdell, a minus. I'm sure it's a great game. Check out the reviews on Board Game Geek if you think you'd like that kind of worker placement. But maybe that's how Russ and Craig feel playing Caverna, is how I felt playing Everdell. Okay. The next game we played was a card trick-taking game called Skull King. I love trick-taking games. Way back to my origins of learning how to play euchre while I attended college in Western New York. A lot of Ohioans go to college in Western New York, and they know how to play euchre. And so euchre is a 4-person trick-taking card game, super fun, and you play in teams. And so when they said Skull King's a trick-taking game, I was like, I'm in. Well, I played a lot of euchre, and I'm actually really good at euchre. If I do say so myself. I know I just said earlier I don't really win at games, but card games I can do pretty well at. Because there's some good strategy with euchre, there's some good risk-taking with euchre, and it's also your ability to know, it's a very tiny deck, and so you can know what cards are out, what cards have been played. Not in absolute, because there's a small kitty with 4 cards in it, so you don't know all the cards out, but you have a good chance of knowing what should be out, taking risks, and big risks are rewarded with big points, so it's super fun. I liked Skull King, but it has, I want to call, 6 different cards in it that disrupt the normal flow of the trick-taking, okay? So in other words, it's harder to actually use strategy, at least I probably played maybe 10 games, maybe 20 games, maybe 30 games, because we played in a tournament where we played 2 rounds of 10, and the games go quick. They're like 20 minutes. Here's the overview on Board Game Geek. Skull King is a trick-taking game similar to Aw Hell, Wizard, Euchre, and Spades. Well, now I want to check out Aw Hell and Wizard. I'm not a fan of Spades. With players needing to state how many tricks they think they'll win each round. A unique element of this game is that bidding takes place simultaneously. That was fun. Leading to rounds that are sometimes over or underbid. as players must win the exact number of tricks that they bid to earn points. Winning too many tricks is just as bad as winning too few, and this leads to intense competition where losing a trick can be as exciting as winning one. Skull King uses a 66 card deck that consists of 5 escape cards, 4 suits, numbers 1 through 13, 5 pirate cards, 1 tigress card, and 1 Skull King card. The game lasts 10 rounds, and in each round, each player is dealt as many cards as the number of the round. All players simultaneously bid on the number of tricks they think they'll take by holding out a fist, count to 3, and we would go yo ho ho, and you'd reveal how many tricks you could take. Yeah, so those kind of special cards is what I was talking about. The 5 escape cards, the 5 pirate cards, the 1 tigress card, and the 1 Skull King card. It was one of those scenarios where, like, a Skull King, I'm going to get this wrong, but, like, a Skull King could trump a tigress, and a tigress can trump a Skull King, but an escape card escapes from all of them. So there was this kind of daisy chain loop of cards that would over-trump, if you would, other cards, and I'm sure with more playthroughs, the experienced players get that all sorted, but I found that to be a little fiddly and a little frustrating to try to win, or get the right bid amounts to win. We played in the tournament. They took out some of those special cards. I want to say they took out the escape cards, and they took out some other kind of cards. I can't remember now. And that made it more euchre-like, because there was more stability in what cards would probably come out. So it was fun. Christian won that tournament, and he was so nice that when you win the box of Skull King. So I actually have the card game now and can play with the local jamokes here in town. Andy, Dave, Craig, Russ, when we get like a whole big, mob of people, we can play that game. Now, lastly, but not leastly, is Tapestry. Christian brought this, hadn't read the rules, and I knew it was a game that I wanted to play by Jamie Stegmaier, who, of course, people know from making Wingspan, one of my favorite games of all times. So I'd seen Tapestry come across my board game feed and didn't know much about it. I thought it was a newer game. Here is the summary of Tapestry. Tapestry is a 2-hour game. I don't think that's true. For a 1 to 5 players, designed by Jamie Stegmaier. Create the civilization with the most storied history, starting at the beginning of humankind and reaching into the future. The paths you choose will vary greatly from real-world events or people. Your civilization is unique. In Tapestry, you start from nothing and advance on any of the 4 advancement tracks: science, technology, exploration, and military, to earn progressively better benefits. You can focus on a specific track or take a more balanced approach. You'll also improve your income, build a capital city, leverage your asymmetric abilities, earn victory points, and gain tapestry cards that will tell the story of your civilization. I liked this game a lot. Again, we didn't know how to play, and so we were watching Rodney over at Watch It Played on how to play, but there was too much noise in the convention hall. And then just out of the blue, this nice person just came up and said, "Oh, Tapestry, would you like to learn how to play?" We were like, yes. And what was really great about him teaching us is he was one of those people that was a really good teacher. Like, do you ever get taught a board game by somebody and they're just not a good teacher, and so they kind of ramble on in different directions that don't matter? This person did not do that. So his teaching methods were really good, and so that let us get taught in about 20 minutes. And then we only got to play about 1 or 2 rounds. I really liked it though, but so it was asymmetrical, there were different civilizations. Why the board game is called Tapestry, that's super confusing to me, because every time I'd see it advertised, I thought it was like building a rug or a mosaic, or was in Egypt or something like that. So I get it that you're building the fabric of a civilization, and there's these things called tapestry cards, but they just as easily could have been called some other kind of card. But fun game, good mechanics. I want to play it again and play the whole round through. It could be that I had a good experience because I randomly just started down one of those paths. I did an exploration path, and what that did was give me the resources to be able to go those extra turns, much like Everdell, where they called them seasons. this game has income turns, and so maybe I would like Everdell more, because in this game of Tapestry, I had the resources, and that enabled me to go further than and then having to do the income phase, where you get kind of resources at the end. So could be that I just had a pretty good initial play, and so that made the game more fun. So that could have been biased. So anyway, so that was that. Like I said, bumped into Russ and Seppi. Didn't really spend too much time with them. They did invite me, and I turned them down because I was hanging out with Christian, and I wanted to be in phase. That's one of the things with conventions, as you know, right? If you leave and go do something else, and then they start a 4-hour game, then one is behind the curve. So I didn't want that to happen. I wanted to play a game of Root. I played that with, again, Russ and his daughter. I'd like to play that again. And speaking of Russ, we're heading down to his place today, and Craig mentioned some sort of, I'm going to get it wrong, Star Wars Imperial Assault or something, but it's kind of like Kill Team. We just play these little squads. And so me, Russ, Craig, and Dave are going to go take care of that today on a Friday. I'm sure you'll hear about all the details of that when Craig logs on. In the MMO space, for those of you not interested in computer games, you can log off whenever you want, but this last few minutes we'll be talking about that. Let's see, I did get my warrior I do the arms spec for classic, and I finally got that warrior to level 80, and I even did a raid, and it was really fun. I do love the nuance of raiding. I just don't have the time in my life to, let me rephrase that, I choose to not use the time that I have in my life to spend on raiding, but I would if I could, or if I chose differently, I guess. I want to do other things like play my guitar. I then leveled a character through retail. I made a shaman, which I've never made before. That was super fun. And then a few of my local friends, Clay and Ryan, decided to jump into Lord of the Rings Online. Those of you know pie making. Those of you know that was my original MMO and love. And so I've been having fun kind of reminiscing and going through the world of Tolkien. And Latro's getting a bit of a resurgence because I think they're hitting their 15th year anniversary, and they are still doing different updates and stuff. The game engine is a little antiquated. I don't mind it at all. I mean, some people might, but it holds up. There's even talk that they're going to spend money on a new game engine, but then there's talk that won't happen, so I'm not sure about that. But it has been fun to, like I said, reminisce and go back in the world. I have very fond memories of that place. I even have memories while playing the game being in a different zone, and I can remember the different friends and different kinmates I was doing different adventures with back in the day. What is this? I don't know, 15 years ago now or something. So that's been fun there. I did buy a bunch of the Civil War models that I have sitting in a box. I read all the rule books. What's been stumping me is I want to paint my Civil War miniatures, but I have my kill team that I just want to paint first. And I bought all these paints from GW. I bought the Gloomspitz paint bundle, which came with like contrast paints and oils and like kind of how to paint goblins and orcs. I was really excited, and I brought the paints out and I painted some models. I might have talked about this already, and it was awful. I had the worst experience. I was like, I don't know how to paint anymore. The models were, the paint was gloopy. The colors weren't the colors I wanted. I hated it. I was like really angry about it. I'm still angry about it, as you can tell. And I was talking with Doc about it, and he gave me the best advice. He was like, oh, hey, did you get those paints through mail order? And I said, yes. He's like, yeah. He's like, I no longer do that. He goes, it's a crapshoot when you get it through mail order. He goes, you don't know. It could have been sitting on a shelf. It could have been in a warehouse for 10 years. He's like, you just don't know. Half of those paints are probably just expired and just beyond their prime. And so, crazy as it sounds, I tossed them all. I was so aggravated by it that I'm like, I'm not going to try to rehab them with water. I'm just not going to do it. I tossed them all. And then I went to my Army Painter kit, which I'll be honest with you, I've always been an Army Painter guy because I like the drop bottle and I don't like their inks, and I love the GW inks. So I kept all my inks, threw out all my GW paints in a rage, and I was a little mad about the money I spent, but I was like, whatever. It's not worth my aggravation every time I open a pot to save $4, I guess. and first world problems, right? And then I went to my army painter, and those are so old they just were dried out. And I don't mean gloopy. I mean they were just cracked clay. So it pained me, but I went ahead and I tossed all those out, and then I bought a whole bunch, but through the internet, because I hadn't talked to Doc yet. So I bought a whole bunch through the internet of army painters, and I'm crossing my fingers that they're okay. I opened up one small box that I bought of army painter paints, and they did seem totally fine. So I'm hoping that the other box that I bought are fine too. I should crack those open. But I've been stymied in wanting to paint my Civil War guys because I got to get these. I want to get these orcs painted. And now that I have the paints and stuff, now I've been lazy because I've been enjoying dinking around in the world of Tolkien again. So that's my painting / hobby experience. And I can't think of anything else to update you on. So, hey, thanks for listening. And until next time, here's another D6 Generation Pip with Raef Hollywood Granger. But yeah, send me a note in either Discord or Twitter. Love to hear what you guys are up to, if anything, strikes you of what the three of us have been chatting about. Love to hear from you. Talk to you soon, and happy gaming. Oh, I almost forgot. A listener was kind enough to write in and correct me on one of the predictions I've made regarding World of Warcraft expansions, and ironically means I've automatically now lost a prediction. So I believe I said that after Wrath of the Lich King that Warlords of Draenor would release, and I was wondering if Blizzard was going to keep going on their menu, so to speak, of launching classic games, where the next expansion was not really loved by the community back in the day. So I believe I'm correct, and the expansion was not loved by the community back in the day, but I did get the order of them wrong. So here it is. Since launch, World of Warcraft has had 9 major expansion packs. So launch was in 2004. Then The Burning Crusade, 2007, Wrath of the Lich King, 2008, Cataclysm, 2010, Mists of Pandaria, 2012, Warlords of Draenor, 2014, Legion, 2016, Battle for Azeroth, 2018, Shadowlands, 2020, and now currently Dragonflight, 2022. So, I just wanted to make that correction out here on a pip. That is the order of expansions, and let's see what Blizzard does with it. Alright, this time, until next time, happy gaming.
Achievement unlocked! You've made it to the end of another D6 Generation episode, the podcast whose humor has universally been acclaimed as not too horrible. Please let us know what you thought of the show by emailing us at info@thed6generation.com. If for some inexplicable reason you actually enjoyed this show, you can help others find out about it by leaving positive reviews on iTunes. Thanks for listening, and happy gaming.